In 1788, the first fleet arrived in Botany Bay, Australia. And it is because of that day we call this Australia Day. And yet, while I'm recording this message, there is hundreds of people right now protesting against this day, calling it Invasion Day. Well, I'd like to speak into that for just a moment and perhaps lend some wisdom to those who would scream at the top of their voice to diminish our national pride and our identity. Friends, you will not change the present by screaming at the past. There is a verse in Scripture that says, love covers a multitude of sins. You know, there are those who want to change our flag, who want to change our identity. I'm sure it won't be very long before they say, let us not call it Australia anymore. Oh, friends, it is not about hate speech. It is about national pride. There was a day many years ago where people would say, God, King and country. Wow, people have diminished their belief in God. They certainly have very little honour for the King. And the country, well, they want to diminish that also. Just in the last couple of days, a statue of Captain James Cook, a great discoverer, a great explorer, was cut down. There are those who would object to what I'm saying. And they would say, well, hang on. We need to fix the wrongs of the past. And this goes for so many countries, the United States and so many other countries where people will say, hang on, we did wrong. Wow. It's interesting to note that when I had a look at the crowd, I saw mostly white people screaming at the top of their voice, this is Invasion Day, and yet I happen to know many Aboriginal people, we call them First Nations people now, friends of mine. In fact, so much so, not only do I know many and call them friends, but I also pastored an Aboriginal church many years ago. They say to me, why do you people carry on so much about the past? The scriptures say love covers a multitude of sins. The ones that I know say we are Australians. We are one. There's a song we sing, we are one, but we are many. You know, you can change the future, and that is by loving one another. Unity is not easy for any country, for any people, for any group of people. But screaming at the past is one way to make it more difficult. You see, it's not just about sorry for what has been done, but it is also, what am I going to do good right now? And it won't be by changing the past or changing our national identity. There are men and women, good, brave men and women that have fought under this flag. Both Indigenous and the immigrants, the white people. You see, that's what we were, immigrants coming to this nation way back in 1788. And every nation has immigrants that have arrived. Now, we can embrace the immigrants or we can object to them. And with every country, as it changes, as it moves, as it grows, it develops into the culture that we have today. And of course, we're even seeing that culture changing, but it should not change because of those who would scream and yell and what we call hate speech. It will be because we're reminded that we are one, but we are many. This is Australia. It is Australia Day. Day to embrace one another. Not to remind people, and this goes for families, it goes for any group of people, and it definitely goes for nations. Not to scream at the past, but to embrace the future by embracing one another. Today, I fed a kookaburra. I looked at him and said, Happy Australia Day, mate. You know, this culture today, or this generation today, I'll say, seems to be wanting to change everything to suit them. When you do that, there is somebody else that it does not suit. Those men and women who have some age on them now, who with fond memories remember a nation being forged, those men and women who fought under this flag. Friends, I would suggest that if you feel that this is Invasion Day, well, stop screaming about it. Stop screaming about it and start embracing one another today. Today matters. The future matters. You won't change anything by changing the day. It was a group of immigrants that came to this country, right or for wrong, and it's the way with every country. There is always rights and there's always wrongs that are done, and there will always be. You cannot keep changing the history, because if you keep doing that, you'll never stop doing that. In 100 years, we will look back on today and we will see rights and wrongs today. You know, we should not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good, embracing one another. We will not change the present by screaming at the past. This is Australia, and I choose to say Happy Australia Day. Yeah, we have a culture. We are well known throughout the world, respected, loved, cherished by many other countries. Why would we go about wanting to fight one another? Now, this message is not only for Australia, it's for other countries. I know that the United States is going through the same issues right now. Let us embrace one another. Let's reach across the aisle, no matter what our colour. Certainly, my friends do not see the colour of our skin. We see one another. And certainly in the Christian church, we do not see colour at all. Indeed, we are commanded to love one another. For love does cover a multitude of sins. And God said to love your neighbour as you love yourself. It won't be because we want to change the past. It'll be because we want to embrace one another now. God bless you, and happy Australia Day.